Nigeria 2023, the Presidency. What constitutes the process for the 2023 presidential election? The year 2023 is another year earmarked for the conduct of the Nigerian general elections. Adult citizens will be required to vote for their preferred candidates who are running for key positions in government, including local government chairmen and ward councillors, state governors and state legislators, senators and members of the House of Representatives, and most importantly, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We take a look at 6 key components that make up the upcoming 2023 presidential elections: the Electoral Act, the Electoral Commission, the voter, the political parties, the candidates, and the election. The Electoral Act. The Electoral Act is the aspect of legislation that focuses on elections in Nigeria. It is a bill passed by the legislature that contains provisions and statutes as guiding principles for the conduct of elections. Areas governed by the Electoral Act include those entitled to vote based on age, residency, or literacy requirements, and the procedure by which they must register or present identification in order to vote. Those entitled to hold office based on age, residency, birth, or citizenship requirements, and the procedures these candidates must follow to appear on the ballot. The rules about which subjects may be submitted to a direct popular vote through a referendum or plebiscite, and the rules that governmental agencies or citizen groups must follow to place questions on the ballot for public consideration. The framework used by political parties to organize their internal government and how they select candidates to run for political office. The financing of elections. The requirement for creating districts which elects representatives to a legislative assembly. The restrictions placed on campaign advocacy, such as rules on anonymous ads, false advertising, and limits on free speech. How votes are cast at an election, including whether to use a paper ballot or some other form of recording votes, such as a mechanical voting machine or electronic voting device, and how information is presented to voters on the ballot or device. How votes are counted at an election, recounts, and election challenges. Whether and how voters or candidates may file legal actions in a court of law or administrative agency to enforce their rights or contest the outcome of an election. The definition of electoral fraud and other crimes against the electoral system. The sources of election law, for example, constitutions, national statutes, state statutes, or judicial decisions, and the interplay between these sources of law. The Electoral Act 2022 is made up of 153 sections, which are divided into 9 parts, all dealing with specific subject matter. Sections 1 to 7 deal with the establishment and functions of INEC. Section 8 on the staff of the Commission. Sections 9 to 23 on the National Register of Voters and Voters Registration. Sections 24 to 74 on the procedure at election. Sections 75 to 97 on political parties. Sections 98 to 113 on procedure for election of area council. Sections 114 to 129 on electoral offences. Sections 130 to 140 on the determination of election petitions. Sections 141 to 153 on miscellaneous provisions. On 25th February 2022, President Muhammadu Buhari signed the 2022 Electoral Act Amendment Bill into law after months of withholding assent. This act therefore repeals the former Electoral Act No. 6, 2010. The amendments made include the establishment of the Independent National Electoral Commission Fund, extension of time frame for publication of election notice, encouragement of early party primaries, extension of time frame for campaigns by political parties, provision for Central Electronic Voter Database, revision of the definition of overvoting, the Independent National Electoral Commission's power of review, exclusion of political appointees from acting as voting delegates or aspirants, the death of electoral candidates, and technological changes in electoral process. As reported on the 1st of March 2022, Senate received a letter from President Muhammadu Buhari seeking an amendment of Section 84, subsection 12 in the 2022 Electoral Act, which states that no political appointee shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of any candidate for an election. He believes that it constitutes a fundamental defect, conflicting with extant constitutional provisions as it disenfranchises 7 political office holders from voting or being voted for at conventions or congresses of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election in cases where it holds earlier than 30 days to the election. The Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision by a 7-man panel of the justices led by Justice Muhammad Dattijo, struck out the suit President Muhammadu Buhari and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, SAN, filed to void Section 84, Subsection 12 of the Electoral Act of 2022. It held that it lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the suit, which it said amounted to an abuse of the judicial process, and that President Buhari was not the proper person to approach it with such suit, owing to the nature of reliefs that were sought. It further argued that President Buhari, having assented to the electoral bill, has conclusively discharged his duty under the Constitution, the rule of law having its course once again. The Electoral Commission. An electoral commission is a body charged with overseeing the implementation of the electioneering process of any country, and it has a duty to ensure that elections are conducted in an orderly manner. The Electoral Commission in Nigeria started as the Electoral Commission of Nigeria, established to conduct the 1959 elections before independence. The Federal Electoral Commission, established in 1960 to conduct the immediate post-independence federal and regional elections in 1964 and 1965, but was scrapped due to a military coup in 1966. The Federal Electoral Commission, FEDECO, set up by General Obasanjo to organize the 1979 and the 1983 elections. The National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, NECON, set up in December 1995 by General Sani Abacha. The current Independent National Electoral Commission, established by General Abdulsalam Abubakar in 1998, as provided in Section 153 and Section 15 of the Part 1 of the 3rd Schedule of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution, conducting 1999 elections and the 5 subsequent ones following. The functions of INEC Nigeria as contained in Section 15, Part 1 of the 3rd Schedule of the 1999 Constitution as amended and Section 2 of the Electoral Act 2022 as amended include the following: to organize, undertake, and supervise all elections to the offices of the President and Vice President, the Governor and Deputy Governor of a state, and to the membership of the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the House of Assembly of each state of the Federation. To monitor the organization and operation of the political parties, including their finances, conventions, congresses, and party primaries. To arrange for the annual examination and auditing of the funds and accounts of political parties and publish a report on such examination and audit for public information. To arrange and conduct the registration of persons qualified to vote and prepare, maintain, and revise the register of voters for the purpose of any election under this Constitution. To monitor political campaigns and provide rules and regulations which shall govern the political parties. To conduct voter and civic education. To promote knowledge of sound democratic election processes, and to conduct any referendum required to be conducted pursuant to the provision of the 1999 Constitution or any other law or act of the National Assembly. Looking at the concluded voters registration, which can be regarded as one of the major activities involving the Commission, there have been several allegations accusing the Commission of so many irregularities, enough to truncate and manipulate the electoral process and rig the elections at large. Examples given. Some applicants during the voters registration in several states had alleged that staff of the Commission, after unnecessarily delaying the process for hours, days, and weeks, demanded bribes from frustrated and desperate figures. In Edo State, it was alleged that they were collecting between 1,000 naira to 5,000 naira from each willing applicant. Some residents of Anambra State said they were requested to pay 20,000 naira each. Wiki Times documented the travails of residents of some communities in the insurgent-ravaged Niger State, where some officials were found to be extorting as high as 50,000 naira per polling unit to register just 30 voters. Prime Business Africa met with some people in Inewi who alleged that officials collected money from the locals who came to register and attended to them at the expense of those who were there earlier. From several testimonies of many of these applicants, they were on ground from as early as 7 to 4 p.m. for several days, but were unable to register because they refused to offer the bribe and thereby ended their quest of voting in the coming elections. Was this a deliberate plot by the Commission to frustrate so many from participating in the elections? In other developments, there have been several reports with viral video evidence on social media of thousands of uncollected PVCs found buried in several locations, particularly in the southeast and south-south Nigeria. Chief of examples are cases where some PVCs were found in the compound of a politician in Imo State, while over 20,000 were dug from a drainage in Umodara axis of Obio Okpo local government area of Rivers State. In Enugu State, hundreds of residents were seen protesting at the Commission's headquarters office over delay and technical errors in the registration exercise as they were chanting, "INEC, give us more machines." Owing to the amount of alleged irregularities witnessed in the registration exercise, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, alongside many Nigerians, had filed a suit against the Commission for its failure to extend the deadline of the registration, thereby disenfranchising millions of Nigerians. Would one be justified of accusing the Commission of not being fair, just, and unbiased to all? The voter. Who is a voter? According to INEC, as prescribed by the Nigerian 1999 Constitution, a voter is a person who has a right to participate in an election by an elector. In Nigeria, a voter is a citizen who is 18 years old and above and is duly registered, whose names and details are in the register of voters. In effect, anyone who can exercise the right to vote is a voter. To be registered as a voter, an individual must be a citizen of Nigeria, has attained the age of 18 years, ordinarily resident, working, originate from the local government area council and ward covered by the registration officers of the Commission for registration as a voter, is free from any inadequacy to vote under any law in Nigeria, must present him or herself to the registration officer of the Commission for registration as a voter, and must not be subject to any incapacity to vote under any law in Nigeria. The rights of a voter are right to register, right to vote and be voted for when registered, right to recall an elected representative, right to secrecy when voting, right to attend rallies and campaigns of political parties and candidates, and the right to information about the election. And their responsibilities are the responsibility to register, the responsibility to vote, the responsibility to conduct oneself in an orderly manner, the responsibility to keep permanent voter cards safe, and the responsibility to enlighten others about the benefits of participation. According to the INEC regulations and guidelines, no person shall be allowed to vote at any polling unit, voting point settlement, or voting point other than the one at which his or her name appears in the register of voters, and he or she presents his or her permanent voter's card to be verified by the smart card reader or as otherwise determined by the Commission. Each voter shall cast his or her vote in person at the polling unit, voting point settlement, or voting point where he or she registered or was assigned in the manner prescribed by the Commission. According to Section 9, Subsection 1 of the 2022 Electoral Act, the Commission shall compile, maintain, and update on a continuous basis a national register of voters, in this Act referred to as the Register of Voters, which shall include the names of all persons entitled to vote in any federal, state, local government, or federal capital territory area council election, and with disability status disaggregated by type of disability. The Independent National Electoral Commission had announced that the Commission had recorded a total of 12,298,944 fresh registrants following the suspension of the continuous voter registration exercise, which commenced on June 28, 2020. 6,074,074 males, 6,224,866 females, 87,083 people living with disabilities, and 8,784,977 youths. 6,359,711 people from the North, with the Northwest accounting for the highest registrants with 2,514,273 people. The North Central with 2,314,368 people, and the Northeast with 1,531,070 people. 5,939,233 people from the South, with a disparity of 420,478 to the North. The South-South following the Northwest with 2,458,095 people. The Southwest with 2,039,982 people, while the Southeast had the least completed registrations with 1,441,156 people. Lagos had the highest number of new registrants with 585,620 people, followed by Kano with 569,103 people, and Delta State with 523,517 applications. The lowest were Yobe, 152,414, and Ekiti State with 124,844 people. The Commission had said it was working towards publishing a comprehensive list of registered voters ahead of the 2023 elections, also disclosing that it found 1,126,359 records of the 2,523,458 fresh registrants registered between June 28, 2021 and January 14, 2022 to be invalid, and consequently delisted them, citing several double, multiple, and ineligible registrants and entries that failed to meet the Commission's business rules. In a statement made available to the press by the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, noted that a thorough process was being undertaken to clean up the registration data and that permanent voters' cards for all valid registrants will be available for collection by the end of October and early November, as promised. The Commission's chairman, Mahmood Yakub, had also revealed that the number had increased to 2.7 million and the affected persons had been deleted from the voter register, citing insecurity as an issue and finger-pointing three regions: the Southeast, Northwest, and Northeast. Meanwhile, Nigerian opposition parties under the aegis of the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, had raised an alarm over alleged moves to use secret court action to stop the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system machine, BVAS, in the 2023 general elections, claiming that it had uncovered mass voter registration fraud and a plot to sack the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission if he fails to stop the use of BVAS. The coalition also displayed extracts of the national voter registration, which it claimed were part of at least 10 million fake registrations done by one of the political parties, whose name was not disclosed. It further claimed that the names were sourced from both within and outside Nigeria, including some African countries such as Ghana, Cameroon, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Togo, Guinea, and the Gambia, and countries outside Africa, including Jamaica, Brazil, and New Zealand, with evidence of several registrations which were captured from passport photographs and other photos. The CUPP therefore called on international partners, local and international observer groups, civil society, and the general public to help it and protect democracy, as the success of any of these plots will erode the integrity and credibility of the electoral process and deny Nigerians the sovereign right to freely choose their leaders. Could these be modalities set in place for election rigging? The political parties. Political parties are a major part of any country's politics, as they are organizations used to compete for political power by fielding candidates for key positions in government. In democracies like Nigeria, who practice a multi-party system, these parties are mass-based, organized to appeal both to the influential, people of interest groups, and any interested citizen, usually spanning into memberships of hundreds of thousands or even millions of followers. Political parties are supposed to have their unique identity, championing their specific ideologies, policies, and political goals. But in reality, looking at the current Nigerian political climate, it seems quite difficult for one to differentiate between political parties, seeing how much of selfish interest and crisscrossing that happens unhindered. Following a Supreme Court judgment, the INEC had trimmed down the number of registered political parties from the 73 who fielded candidates in the 2019 general elections to only 18, based on an assessment of their performance in these elections. The 18 registered political parties in Nigeria, as approved by the INEC, are Accord, A; Action Alliance, AA; Action Democratic Party, ADP; Action People's Party, APP; African Action Congress, AAC; African Democratic Congress, ADC; All Progressives Congress, APC, All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, APGA, Allied People's Movement, APM, Boot Party, BP, Labour Party, LP, National Rescue Movement, NRM, New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, People's Democratic Party, PDP, People's Redemption Party, PRP, Social Democratic Party, SDP, Young Progressives Party, YPP, and Zenith Labour Party, ZLP. The basic avenue through which the political parties announce themselves is during the election campaign. Election campaigns are the means by which candidates and political parties prepare and present their ideas and positions on issues to the voters in the period preceding election day. Contestants use a variety of techniques to reach out to voters and deliver their messages, including through traditional and new media, public events, written materials, or other means. They provide candidates and political parties with opportunities to present their message to citizens, helping voters make educated and informed decisions on election day. The election campaign period began on the 28th September 2022 and will end on 23rd February 2023. As at this time, political parties have also made their presence felt through organized rallies all over the country. Unfortunately, these rallies are not without unpleasant events, signifying a level of political intolerance in the country. There was a legal action where 10 lawyers had dragged the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and his running mate, Yusuf Datti Baba Ahmed, before a federal high court sitting in Lagos, seeking an order to stop the Obi Datti 23 Forward Ever rally, slated for October 1st, 2022, while citing the 2020 NSAS protest, but was thankfully squashed by a court order. There have also been video evidence of several attacks on supporters of the Labour Party by thugs in Katsina, Nasarawa, and Delta, with arrests made in Lagos, tear gassing by the police in Ebonyi, and an attack by gunmen in Enugu. PDP supporters were also attacked during their rally in Kaduna, with hoodlums invading the Ranchers Bees Stadium venue 3 times with sticks and machetes, leaving many injured. The Zamfara Police Command also confirmed 1 person dead, while 18 others sustained injuries following a clash between PDP and APC youth groups in the state. Scores of the All Progressive Congress members in Oyo State were also allegedly attacked by the chairman of the Park Management System (PMS), Mukaila Lamidi, fondly called Auxiliary. Such level of intolerance still stands as a threat to a free and fair upcoming election, and the peace accord signed by the presidential candidates must be held by them, their political parties, and their supporters. The candidates. To be eligible as a presidential candidate according to the 1999 Constitution, a person must be a citizen of Nigeria by birth, has attained the age of 40 years, is a member of a political party and is sponsored by that political party, and has been educated up to at least school certificate level or its equivalent. All the 18 political parties have fielded candidates and their running mates for the presidential election. Party primaries were scheduled between 4th April and 9th June 2022, with the People's Democratic Party nominating former Vice President Atiku Abubakar on 28 May, while the All Progressives Congress nominated former Governor of Lagos State Bola Tinubu on 8th June. The less-known Labour Party also nominated former Governor of Anambra State Peter Obi on 30th May 2022, gaining some popularity as a result. This would make it the first time since 1999 that 3 top candidates will be under consideration in Nigeria's elections. All 18 presidential candidates and their vice presidential running mates. Accord A. Imomole Ireni Christopher and Bello Baba Maru. Action Alliance A. Hamza and Mustafa and Chukwuka Johnson. African Action Congress AAC. Omoyele Sowore and Garba Magashi. African Democratic Congress ADC, Dumebi Kachukwu and Ahmed Mani. Action Democratic Party ADP, Yabagi Sani and Udo K. Koro. All Progressives Congress APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima. All Progressives Grand Alliance APGA APGA, Chukwudi Umeadi and Koli Mohammed. Allied People's Movement APM, Maman Dantali and Ofie Princess. Action People's Party APP, Osita Nnamdi and Isa Hamisu. Boot Party BP, Oluwafemi Adenuga and Turako Mustafa. Labour Party, Peter Obi and Yusuf Datti Baba Ahmed. New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and Bishop Isaac Idahosa. People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar and Ifeanyi Okowa. People's Redemption Party, PRP, Abiola Olawale and Rabi Marshall. Young Progressives Party, YPP, Ado Ibrahim Abdul Malik and Eyina Karasachi. Zenith Labour Party, Dabere Chukwu Nwanyao and Ramalan Abubakar. Of all the political parties, only the All Progressives Congress fielded both candidates from the same faith, a move that most Nigerians perceive as not only insensitive but also discriminatory and suggestive of intolerance. This has raised a whole lot of issues and controversies within and out of the party and can greatly shape the decision of who to vote for at the end. An emphatic emphasis of this will be done in the next episode. The election. According to Section 132, subsections 1 and 2 of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution, an election to the office of President shall be held on a date to be appointed by the Independent National Electoral Commission. An election to the said office shall be held on a date not earlier than 60 days and not later than 30 days before the expiration of the term of office of the last holder of that office. According to the new amendments to the 2022 Electoral Act, election to the office of the President and Vice President as well as National Assembly shall hold on the third Saturday in February of any general election year, while election to the office of Governor and Deputy Governor and the State Houses of Assembly shall hold 2 weeks thereafter. This simply means that the 2023 Nigerian Presidential Election will hold on 25th February 2023 to elect the President and Vice President. Incumbent APC President Muhammadu Buhari has served for 2 terms and cannot seek re-election to a third term. The winner of the election will be inaugurated on 29th May 2023, the former date of Democracy Day. Looking at the electoral system, the President of Nigeria is elected using a modified 2-round system. To be elected in the first round, a candidate must receive a majority of the vote and over 25% of the vote in at least 24 of the 36 states. If no candidate passes this threshold, the second round will be held between the top candidate and the next candidate to have received a plurality of votes in the highest number of states. According to the same section, subsections 3, 4, and 5, it says, wherein an election to the office of President, one of the 2 or more candidates nominated for the election is the only candidate after the close of nomination by reason of the disqualification, withdrawal, incapacitation, disappearance, or death of other candidates. The Independent National Electoral Commission shall extend the time for nomination. For the purpose of an election to the office of President, the whole of the federation shall be regarded as one constituency. Every person who is registered to vote at an election of a member of a legislative house shall be entitled to vote at an election to the office of President. Now, the presidential election could fall under one of these several eventualities. In the eventuality that there is only one candidate left during the period of election, Section 133 says, a candidate for an election to the office of the President shall be deemed to have been duly elected to such office where, being the only candidate nominated for the election, he has a majority of yes votes over no votes cast at the election, and he has not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election in each of at least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In the eventuality that there are only 2 candidates left, Section 134, subsection 1 says, a candidate for an election to the office of President shall be deemed to have been duly elected where there being only 2 candidates for the election, he has the majority of votes cast at the election and he has not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election in each of at least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In the eventuality that there are more than 2 candidates, as the case may be in the coming 2023 election, subsections 2 says, a candidate for an election to the office of President shall be deemed to have been duly elected where, there being more than 2 candidates for the election, he has the highest number of votes cast at the election and has not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election of at least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In the eventuality that none of the candidates gets the required number of votes, subsection 3 says, in a default of a candidate duly elected in accordance with subsection 2 of this section, there shall be a second election in accordance with subsection 4 of this section, at which the only candidate shall be the candidate who scored the highest number of votes at any election held in accordance with the said subsection 2 of this section, and one among the remaining candidates who has the majority of votes in the highest number of states. So, however, that where there are more than one candidate with majority of votes in the highest number of states, the candidate among them with the highest total votes cast at the election shall be the second candidate for the election. In a default of a candidate duly elected during the foregoing subsection, the Independent National Electoral Commission shall within 7 days of the result of the election held under the said subsections arrange for an election between the two candidates, and a candidate at such election shall be deemed elected to the office of President if he has a majority of votes cast at the election and he has not less than 1/4 of the votes cast at the election in each of at least 2/3 of all the states in the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And in the eventuality that none of the candidates gets the required amount of votes in the re-election, subsection 5 says, in default of a candidate duly elected under subsection 4 of this section, the Independent National Electoral Commission shall within 7 days of the result of the election held under the aforementioned subsection 4 arrange for another election between the two candidates to which the subsection relates, and a candidate of such election shall be deemed to have been duly elected to the office of President if he has a majority of the votes cast at the election. That will be quite an interesting uprising. Having seen all 6 basic components of the process for the presidential election, I leave you with these 3 questions. Do you think that the current electoral system is best fashioned to produce the best presidential candidates? Can the Nigerian voter trust the Commission to deliver a free and fair election? Is the Nigerian political climate healthy enough to ensure a free and fair election? Until I see you in the next issue of Nigeria 2023, the Presidency.